Hello and welcome to Bags of Action. My name is Pete and this is a 5-minute Bags of Action review of Avengement from 2019. After years of assaults on him in prison, convicted felon Cain Burgess escapes for avengement on those responsible. Directed by stuntman turned director Jesse V. Johnson, who's also directed Debt Collector, Debt Collector 2, Triple Threat, Accident Man and Savage Dog, interestingly all starring Scott Adkins. It was written by Johnson and also by Stu Small. Now they co-wrote together both the Debt Collector films, and along with Adkins himself, they co-wrote Accident Man, which was actually adapted from a Pat Mills comic. So you can probably guess who stars in Avengement. Yes, that's right, Scott Adkins, from all those films I just mentioned, and also bigger movies like Expendables 2, Doctor Strange, and he was recently cast in John Wick 4. So who else is along for the ride in Avengement? You've got people you'll recognise like Craig Fairbrass from Muscle and Cliffhanger, Thomas Turgoose from This Is England and Kingsman: The Golden Circle, and Nick Moran from Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels, some of the Harry Potter movies, and from a film that I worked on called Don't Knock Twice. Who else is in this? Also Louis Mandylor, who is the other main star in the two Debt Collector movies. This was actually made between the first and second one, so I do wonder if they moved a load of crew around and maybe made this in the gap in filming. And alongside these people, there are lots of assorted heavies and stunt people as well. So, as soon as you heard me mention Craig Fairbrass and Nick Moran were in the cast, you probably realised that this is very much a London crime movie. But with a difference. This is a London crime movie with some added martial arts. It revels in being 2 parts Guy Ritchie, 1 part Shane Meadows, despite his stories being set in the Midlands, and 1 part EastEnders. And it casts based on those things, but it also features some rather excellent fights. Now at the start I thought this was a bit cheesy and very much a by-the-numbers B-movie. But this film has a really interesting story and a really clever story structure. And I say, some of the best fights I've seen this side of John Wick or The Raid. Getting stunt people making action movies seems to be continually paying off these days, and this is no exception. Adkins' character escapes from prison, then takes people hostage in the local pub before telling the story of how he ended up there. That structure takes cues from Guy Ritchie, Edgar Wright and Quentin Tarantino, but all wrapped up in a low-budget British fight movie. This is something I've never seen before. Now on one hand you have Adkins squaring up against the acting side of the cast, Fairbrass and Moran. Then the flashbacks, he's drawn into some brutal and relentless fights in an almost Hong Kong style movie fight where it's him about 20-30 people. Now that combination is a heady mix and it sets this film up as far better than you feel it has any right to be. By the end, the thespian cast and the fight stories have become intertwined, and after some amazing prison fights throughout the way, you get a breathtaking bar brawl that isn't to be missed. Now I didn't rate Johnson's direction much in Savage Dog or Triple Threat, but that was mainly due to pretty by-the-numbers scripts. Now it seems to be his sweet spot, and Scott Adkins' for that matter, is when Stu Small is also involved as a co-writer. Like the Debt Collector films before them, this has an 80s, 90s style B-movie writ large for today feel about it, and it makes me want to watch Accident Man before the sequel comes out too. That's the one Stu Small's, Jesse V. Johnson, Scott Adkins movie I haven't yet seen. And this mix of dark humour, ultra-violence and Adkins' easy charm make for the kind of film that no one else is really making. Now this film was nominated for the World Stunt Awards for Best Fight, and I'm not surprised. I wonder what won. But in many ways, Adkins is the modern day Van Damme, but I'm starting to think he might well be the best Western martial artist appearing on film. And I have to say, off the back of Debt Collector, Debt Collector 2 and now Avengement, I'll watch anything that Adkins does as long as Smalls is co-writing and Johnson is directing. Johnson's next movie, incidentally, is called White Elephant, starring Bruce Willis, Michael Rooker and John Malkovich, but sadly that film doesn't have a co-writing credit for Stu Small. So, if you like martial arts, if you like the old school London crime gangster movies, then this is a really pleasant surprise. Like it's got a ridiculously poor title, but it's the kind of film that would go under the radar. But it's on Netflix, and I really recommend seeing it. Now, I couldn't quite give the film I've just described 4 bags, despite it being an exhilarating watch with a far better plot than I thought it would have, and with some amazing fights, like I say. And we're not allowed half bags, of course. So taking all that into account, I'm going to give Avengement a very respectable 3 bags of action out of 5. And if you haven't seen it, I recommend it. Have you seen Avengement? Do you agree with my assessment of it? Feel free to comment below or get in touch with us. You can do that on email, Facebook, or on Twitter. We have new episodes coming out each week alongside, of course, our full-length podcast. Don't forget to give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell to make sure you get notifications so you never miss an episode. Bags of Action will always be free, but if you'd like to buy us a coffee, you can do that at our Ko-fi page.